Hello, you beautiful people of the internet. Today we are going to be talking about even more ARK news. Today we're going to be going through the new post from Screen Rant talking about ARK 2, but also ARK Survival Ascended in general. And it was a really good article that I just read through, which kind of just goes into depth of the current situation of the whole community in general. It's very, very interesting, and big shout out to Ben for posting this brand new article. And let's dive straight in with the news. Now, if you guys do enjoy today's video, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe if you're new around here, and let's get in with today's news. Now, something I just want to say first, it's feeling a bit weird at the moment being an ARK creator. I'm looking around in the community and I feel like it's the early days of ARK again, in the sense of when there wasn't loads. Well, I guess there was a lot of creators playing ARK, but I'm looking around and all my favorite ARK creators are all playing other games and doing other games. And yeah, I've done that myself this year as well. And I am planning on releasing a Once Human video today, but it is so strange to see. I think Ross Clark is still very dedicated to the ARK grind. But it's kind of looking around. Obviously, Syntac is always there, but just overall, it's a bit of a weird time in the ARK community, and I can't really work it out. But I'm just hoping things get better. So ARK 2's future is looking more bleak than ever, despite all the new content. So the summary of this post is ARK 2's development is plagued by delays and lack of updates, with ARK Survival Ascended taking the front role. Studio Wildcard and parent company Snail Games have a complex financial history that may complicate ARK 2's future, and delays are not unusual for Studio Wildcard, but ARK 2's shifting status takes things to a new level. So let's dive into this. So ARK Survival Ascended's continued development is giving ARK players, by the way, I'll link this in the description down below if you want to check it out for yourself, is giving ARK players a lot to care about. But when it comes to its successor ARK 2, it's a lot harder to be optimistic. Announced in 2020, ARK 2 is intended to be a major sequel to the classic ARK experience. In the years since its release announcement, however, most updates on the game status are simply its release date getting pushed further and further away, and a large proportion of the community has essentially shelved any hope for the game to release soon. In the meantime, ARK Survival Ascended was announced in March 2023 as a remaster of the original ARK Survival Evolved, bringing the game to Unreal Engine 5 and slowly rebuilding all the content released over the years on the new platform. Although Survival Ascended suffered from its own delays, it did manage to materialize before the year's end, and it continued to receive content additions since. And the Summer Bash event recently added some new and old summer-themed items, and Aberration Ascended is set to expand the game more significantly in September. How crazy is it, guys, that ARK Survival Ascended was announced in March 2023, and that was over a year ago, right? But the fact that it was announced in March 2023, and since December 2020, we were expecting ARK 2. I find it so crazy how it was sort of done last minute and everything like that. But anyway, so the ARK 2 delays are shadowed by serious problems. Studio Wildcard's situation doesn't seem great. So although ARK 2 has a huge audience ready and waiting, the apparent viability of its release is only continuing to falter. The overhauled ARK Survival Ascended made sense as a way to bridge the extended gap between the releases, but at this point it seems to have taken over primary focus for development without any tangible progress being shown. It's hard to have confidence that much development is being invested in bringing ARK 2 to a completed state, and it may not be something that can wait forever. And I agree with that, to be honest. I mean, I do think it can wait, if I'm honest, for quite a while. And the reason why I think it can wait, I'd rather it get released pretty much straight away. But the reason why I don't think it matters is because it's become so forgotten about now that people will it will be like a surprise. It'll be like a new announcement again if it actually does come. But really, pretty much, I don't see ARK 2. I said this to you guys recently. I don't see ARK 2 coming until late 2026. And yes, it is absolutely crazy saying that, but just to be honest, overall, it's the ARK Survival Ascended roadmap has, is going on into 2020. It says October 25 is the last map, but the roadmap's completely like wrong now. So because Aberration was meant to come out in July and it's now coming out in September. So you've got a July, August, September. So you've got like a 2 to 3 month delay on Aberration. So that's going to push back a bunch of the maps. I think the only way ARK 2 makes it is if there's a second team working on it. And I guess we're all sort of waiting in the background for some sort of surprise and out of nowhere ARK 2 drops this year, but it's just not going to happen, is it? And that, as I said, the only way that's happening is if they've got another team working on it in the background. But we'll see. Studio Wildcard, the company behind ARK, has a turbulent economic history. As reported by Kotaku, the studio made an alleged $40 million settlement in 2016 after being sued for a breach of non-compete agreement, and the company sold to the parent publisher Snail Games somewhere in a similar time frame. Although most details of the arrangements are speculative, ARK lead designer Jeremy confirmed the basic events in a reply to a Reddit post on the subject, affirming that Wildcard viewed the partnership as a beneficial move. Years later, however, it doesn't seem like all is well financially at Snail Games. Although shares opened around $3 per share in 2022, they've trended downward to end up below $1 in recent months. And the basic rules of the market threaten delisting for any company with a share price that remains below $1 for 30 days. And Snail Inc. has already been there since early May. A bad stock situation plagues the ARK 2 publisher, and Snail could end up being delisted. That doesn't necessarily mean that Snail is immediately set to be delisted, as some companies can work out agreements to buy time if they can make a convincing case for the share price recovery. At the moment, however, it's hard to see how Snail Games will be able to pull that out of the hole. There's still no news on ARK 2, and although the publishers recently released a game called Bellwright, it's attracted a fair amount of attention. Any positive effect it had on share value already seems to have just disappeared. So yeah, pretty much for Snail right now, all for me really relies on the release of ARK 2, because that's the only thing that could sell crazy. As for anything they're going to make money within ARK Survival Ascended, I think they thought it was a good idea, and I'm sure when they released ARK Survival Ascended, I'm sure there was some celebrations and some excitement in the studios on the launch, because it made a lot of money at the launch time. But actually what ARK Survival Ascended has done for the future of the ARK franchise is actually harmed it more, which is something that didn't need to happen. But the reason it ended up happening is just the fact it didn't have enough content in. If you think you launch ARK Survival Ascended, with just the island map, and now nearly a year down the line, we've only seen the island, Scorched Earth, and the center is crazy. And by the time we see the next map, it will nearly be officially a year. I think because obviously Ascended came out in October and Aberration will be coming out in September. It's just not going to be enough for Snail to make money. There's only between 10 to 20,000 players playing ARK Survival Ascended after a while of a new map coming out. A new map comes out, a lot of people jump on to try it, but not many people are staying. The majority of the ARK community have gone back to ARK Survival Evolved. Some people have moved on to other games. And that's just the fact of it at the moment. They've got pre-mods, they've got cosmetics, they've got everything like that, but it's just not enough to save them. And that's why the sad nature really of it is things get released in the ARK community right now because people need to make urgent money. It's really sad to say that. I've never actually used that point before, but ARK Survival Ascended had to be released in October because they needed to make money because they were into a contract, and they were locked into that release date. ARK 2 may end up releasing earlier if that's that urgent for money. Obviously, they can't release a completely unfinished game, but I think it's where are they going to make their big money from? They probably made some from Bob's Tall Tales, but the audience on Survival Ascended just isn't big enough for those huge profit margins anymore. Sadly, what they should have done is they should have stuck to the old version of ARK Survival Evolved, and they would have still had a huge player base. They could have upgraded it to Unreal Engine 5. But the only thing that is bad about that, though, is that because the game was so badly optimized, they lost a lot of players because people couldn't run it. But anyway. So the dire straits of Snail Inc. stock don't confirm that the company is in deep trouble, as a low share price isn't always directly tied to general financial visibility, I'm going to say here, because the fall of the Snail Inc. stock does show a lack of confidence in the venture. However, it can make much more difficult for the publisher to raise money in the future, depending on how much cash is being burned on ARK 2. This could be a significant setback or even a fatal blow to development. Although parent companies' troubles also don't always have to spell doom, Wildcard's own financial history doesn't help matters. Wildcard or the ARK IP could always end up being sold to another party, but despite its significant potential for revenue, it might not be an attractive package considering all the baggage. Further complicating things is the relationship between Snail Games and Marbis, the parent company behind ARK Survival Ascended server provider Nitrado. In 2023, filings available from Snail also revealed multiple millions of debt to Marbis, and the company handed over long-term server exclusivity rights to Nitrado as part of a deal to cover past expenses. It's other consequence of long-running internal problems, even if that's one that was able to be more or less resolved without the sinking the ship. Now, I think the crazy thing here is the fact that your server company, you know, Nitrado do pretty well, right? And I've worked with them for a long time. I think, you know, like years and years ago, they came to me and said they wanted to partner up. I know there's been some like dodgy stuff that's happened over the years, but the fact that, you know, Snail had to take a loan of multiple million, I think it was 4 million to the server company, it is crazy. You know, usually in real time, if a game is run correctly, the game and the brand itself would be, well, let's say the actual company itself would be worth more than the server company provider. But something hasn't been, like, something somewhere along the line, ARK, you know, it's made millions of dollars over the years, and something had to be done wrong. I don't know who's messing around with the money, but I don't, yeah. So ARK's general success doesn't mean ARK 2 is safe. It's an unusual situation across the board. So considering how much has been invested into the IP, seeing ARK 2 fall apart at this point would be strange. In addition to the work on Survival Ascended, ARK the Animated Series recently released, with the second part already confirmed later in the year. Animated shows how they have been major successes for the franchises like League of Legends, Cyberpunk, and Castlevania. So despite ultimately failing to garner a comparable reception, this was a big swing at attracting the same kind of hype. For some perspective here, the ARK Animated was announced as the same year as Cyberpunk Edge Runners, but ultimately came close to 2 years later than the other project. So for better or worse, ARK 2's constant delays aren't exactly out of the ordinary. The tradition of Studio Wildcard postponing releases was already in place during the era of continual DLC launches for the original ARK Survival Evolved, and Survival Ascended has suffered the same fate. Even the animated series was knocked back from 2022 to 2023 to 2024, while finally being released with a minimal amount of fanfare, which this was crazy, right? Because it's such a strange one, because they don't seem to promote things well. I don't understand what it is. It must be a money issue, because ARK is such a big game, but when it comes to the PR, I don't know what they do. And I remember that some of the devs were responding saying, we've got things in place, we know what we're doing when it comes to PR, but the PR for the game is so bad, and I don't understand why. And I'm sorry if you work in the PR team for Studio Wildcard, I could be completely wrong. You guys may have something really cool planned in the background, but the animated series was some people don't even know it's out right now. Like, if you weren't in the ARK community, you wouldn't have a clue that it was out, because there's no promotion. ARK Survival Ascended never gets any cool trailers. I think they've done past TV trailers. I get it's expensive. It's very, very expensive. But you can't tell me that over the years that ARK Survival couldn't have afforded that. I would be very, very shocked. But, you know, as of recently, I worked in PR for 2 years. I quit my job at the end of 2023. So I've been doing YouTube full time since. And it's being in PR, you learn a lot of and there's always a new way to promote something. But I've never seen any other game. I was in gaming as well. I've never ever seen. I'm not saying I'm an expert because I was only in it for 2 years, but I had never seen anyone do their PR like Studio Wildcard. Never. No one. Ghost drops is something that can happen quite a lot, which is where people don't even give a release date or anything like that, and they just drop it. Wildcard aren't unfamiliar to a ghost drop. I'm not saying on as a game, but for like a DLC or a creature, they've done things like that. But sometimes for a game like ARK, considering it sort of lost a lot of players recently, ghost drops should not be the way forward, because things will get released into the game and a whole bunch of the fan base that you could bring back to the game for something won't know it's actually there, if that makes sense. So anyway, from an outside position, it's ultimately impossible to say what the odds of ARK 2 actually releasing as a finished product in a timely matter are, based on the lack of information from Wildcard and concerning external factors. However, it doesn't seem wise to place too many eggs in that basket. ARK has been anticipated for years as the future successful franchise, but it's hard to know for sure if the future will ever come. So yeah, really good piece here from Ben. Really enjoyed reading through that, and it's very true. Unfortunately, the future of ARK 2 and ARK Survival Ascended is in a very strange place. I think we know what's going on with ARK Survival Ascended. We're just going to be getting map after map. But the worrying thing about the map releases is it's what's going to be the next, what's going to be the next income for the company? What they're going to try and charge for next. And as I've said many times, I've no problem with charging for things that aren't pay to win. But creatures, I think, is a very slippery slope to be charging for. And I do think it is a bit of a worry when your game that you're playing in community crunches are saying to help support us with development, we're going to be doing this. It is a worrying sign. It's because they're reaching out for help, kind of. And you don't see many games doing that unless they're really small indie games. So yeah, it's an interesting one, guys. But what can we do? It's the current situation we're in right now with ARK. As I said to you guys later today, I will be releasing a Once Human video. We're going to start covering the news. It's got mixed reviews, but I've heard it's pretty good. They've had 202,000 people playing, and yeah, so I can't wait to drop one of those videos. Obviously, that's not a me saying, oh, I'm completely going away from ARK. That's never going to be the case. I've told you guys that in many videos. Let me know what your thoughts on Once Human are too. It's just the fact that, when you compare, I know this is a new game, so I don't know how long it's going to be successful for, but I mean, it's doing really pretty well. It's a free-to-play game, which is such a clever way to market too, as well, in-game purchasing and free game to play. Look at ARK Survival Evolved. It's so solid with 30,000 players, but Ascended actually dropped out of the list earlier. I don't know if it's back yet. Oh, there it is. It's back in 92, 13,000 players. It's just not enough for profit. The game is way too expensive as well for what it really is at this moment in time. That's why you're not going to get a bunch of new players, because no one's going to want to pay $37.99 or $40. It's just not going to happen. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to smash that like button. And please come and join me for my first ever Once Human video later today. It'd be great to see some support and hopefully get into a brand new game to add to the channel. Power World is also doing quite well after the new update too. Catch you guys soon.